योर फ्राइडे गोइंग? मैं तो बहुत एक्साइटेड हूँ। ऑब्वियसली फ्राइडे है तो थोड़ी ज़्यादा एक्साइटमेंट हो ही जाती है, और जब आप लोग से बात करने का मौका मिलता है तो मैं बहुत ही एक्साइटेड हो जाता हूँ। बट we're here बिकॉज दोस्तों, परसों संडे, इंडिया वर्सेस पाकिस्तान, एशिया कप, एशिया कप 2022 फॉर ऑल प्रैक्टिकल पर्पसेस। यस, इट स्टार्ट्स टुमारो, बट जो सबसे बड़ा मैच है अजीज हम इंडियंस के लिए, वो है संडे का मुकाबला इंडिया बनाम पाकिस्तान। नॉट जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट हैपेंड लास्ट ईयर इन द यूएई इन द वर्ल्ड T20, इट इज ऑल्सो संडे जब इंडिया और पाकिस्तान पिछली बार मिले थे। इंडियन टीम हारी, कोई बात नहीं। जो प्रोग्रेस रोहित शर्मा की टीम, यस रोहित शर्मा टीम, बिकॉज विराट कोहली स्टेप डाउन फ्रॉम द T20 कैप्टनसी आफ्टर इंडियाज rather dismal performance at the T20 World Cup last year. तो उसके बाद जो रोहित शर्मा को जिम्मेदारी सौंपी गई थी, and then as the year began, he was then made the ODI and Test captain. So now Rohit Sharma is India's all format captain. जो progress हमारी टीम कर चुकी है, रोहित और कोच राहुल द्रविड़, आई मस्ट एड राहुल द्रविड़ नेम एज वेल, उनके अंदर वी सीन इंडिया जस्ट गो फ्रॉम स्ट्रेंथ टू स्ट्रेंथ इन द T20 फॉर्मेट। आपको बता दूं कि पिछले T20 वर्ल्ड कप से निकलने के बाद भारतीय टीम 19 मैच जीती है T20I फॉर्मेट में और 4 हारी है। there's been experimenting, there's been changes, there's been a lot of progress, लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है, और मैं पहले भी कह चुका हूं यहाँ पे इस शो पे, यू गेज अ टीम्स प्रोग्रेस इन एनी फॉर्मेट बिटवीन द बिग टूर्नामेंट्स। और अगर हम T20 फॉर्मेट के बारे में बात करें, सबसे बड़ा मुकाबला दोस्तों वो है T20 वर्ल्ड कप। नाउ बिकॉज ऑफ कोविड ऐसा हो चुका है कि there's only a 1 year gap. So how far have India actually come from bowing out of last year's T20I World Cup? I think the real test now is at the Asia Cup starting on Sunday. इसी के साथ दोबारा हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं क्रिकेट एनालिस्ट अनुज त्रिवेदी। I've got his request. Let's welcome him back on the show and get our discussion started.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very, very well. What have you been up to since the last time we spoke on
I'm
this
doing
show?
multiple things right now. So, but it's good to be back here. Excited for this another topic today.
Bilkul, bilkul. Last time we were here, we were looking at India and the West Indies. I was just saying to our viewers, Anuj, कि मेरे हिसाब से I gauge a team based on what they do in the years between a major ICC event, or फिर in those ICC events what they do. Now, the last time India played a T20 World Cup, we all know what happened. It was a very, very disappointing performance. 10 months later, Indian team is back in the UAE. Again, it's a Sunday. Again, we're playing Pakistan. But before we come to that match, the team has really, in my estimation, made a lot of gains from that last time. A new captain, some new players. They've experimented with players and also players' roles. Keeping all that's happened in the last 10 months, और हम उस पर बात करेंगे, man to man, team to team, how do you see these two teams? Because where India have played the most T20Is, Pakistan have played only one this year and only 7
Yeah.
since the T20 World Cup. How do you see this match
Yeah.
panning out before the
So,
toss?
yeah. So a lot of the personnel is the same. Team personnel is the same for India. There aren't too many changes from the team that we played last year. But I think what the change has come about in this team is the approach. I think you're stuck, Jamie.
Yep. I can hear
Are
you
you able to hear
fine.
me? Okay, fine. Yeah.
I can hear you
So I
fine. Yes,
think
yes.
the biggest change that
Go
we
ahead.
yeah yeah. So the biggest change that we are seeing right now is in the mindset of the members of Team India. Earlier, you had the same people, but they are playing more freely now, and that opens up a lot of other possibilities in terms of achieving a particular target, whether you are setting it or you are chasing it.
You're absolutely right. This approach in mindset has been a huge shift. We can attribute this to Rohit. We can attribute this to
Yeah.
Dravid. We can attribute this to all the players. It's a very, very valid point. हम उस पे आएंगे. I'm just going to start off by playing a brief AV of a nice little clip that the BCCI had put up of the Indian team training and just getting set in, because it sort of says all that we're talking about. They're smiling a lot. that was just a very, very brief clip of a sort of a BTS behind the scene,
Yeah.
as they say. Of course, we all know that jab camera on air, players are not always themselves. But I like the fact that this small compilation Anuj was put together because पिछली बार जब team गई थी, so yes, the team was confident.
Hmm.
Many people said India are favorites, but they come off a long England tour and then the IPL. So the fatigue factor
True.
was,
Yeah.
I think, a serious reason why the team did not go to the second round. Abhi kya hai? Yes, the team has played a lot of matches, but we've seen with the bench strength that the selectors have also fielded multiple teams. So ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई एक player
Yes.
ना has played too many matches. Rohit's been rested. KL Rahul has not played a T20I the whole year. Kohli's back. तो
Hmm.
ये जो team का माहौल है, I think it looks pretty good. How do you see it?
So the workload management has been quite good in the recent past. They, of course, some of it has been forced one because of the injuries to key players.
Correct.
It has given opportunities to the other players to put their hands up, and I think that has benefited us a lot because now we have a lot of options that we can figure out, and there are options for for the same position as well. So this rotation and workload management has almost benefited us, despite Bumrah's absence, which could be a huge factor. But then we have seen Arshdeep Singh, who has put his hand up and done remarkably well. So you never know. You wouldn't have even imagined someone like Arshdeep Singh making like playing in the Asia Cup, or even could be starting in the World Cup. So that's how the players have come since the last 1 year. And I think IPL has got to be credited for this because they have IPL has provided a solid platform for the players and have enabled them to play under pressure situations. So yes, same team, but I think the mood is quite different this time around.
Yeah, it looks that way, and it's good that you mentioned this fellow जो
Yeah,
हमारे screens में है, Arshdeep Singh, because like I mentioned at the start of the show, and you also rightly said that a lot of the experiments were forced because of injuries and
hmm.
COVID and जो भी है. But the
Yeah,
fact that, so I'm just going to put off this AC 1 second. Sorry, the fact that a player like an Arshdeep has been rewarded, it's because he's consistently for 2-3 seasons has done a specific role. And we often find ourselves, Anuj, talking about role clarity in a positive
yeah,
context. It's not that normal that because Indian teams of the past have been accused of not having role clarity. ये जो लड़का है, he's had a specific role, bowl primarily at the death, and he's done a pretty good job of that for the Punjab franchise. And that is what has now opened up his chances in the Indian team. You know, we all know, viewers जानते हैं, इतनी मारा
yeah.
मारी है for spots, be it bowlers, be it batsmen. He has seized these opportunities. And I think, regardless of how he does in the Asia Cup, he should go to Australia because he's a left armer.
I think he should. Yeah, even I agree. He should be on that plane to Australia, primarily because of the point you mentioned that he's a left armer, and also he's someone who could tremendously help Bumrah bowl out his overs. He can even bowl Bumrah in 4 over spells, like 1 over spell in 4 different spells. So he gives the captain that flexibility, that cushion, that yes, even I can bowl at this stage. I can even swing with the new ball. I can provide you quality overs at the depth. And along with Bumrah and even say Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, the three could make a formidable trio. So it is very exciting, and I think his inclusion will benefit the other bowlers as well.
I'm gonna just put up a poll here. This is for our viewers. We'll keep talking
Yeah,
about this. This is just for the viewers. Arshdeep or Avesh? Because we've seen that Avesh is slightly senior in the Indian setup as compared to Arshdeep. The team clearly sees a lot of value in Avesh, even though his form in the last couple months has been a bit up and down. We saw him struggle in the West Indies, but they did not drop him. They
yeah,
persisted with him, and then he got that man of the match award. अभी क्या है, there's no Bumrah, big loss. There's no
yeah,
Harshal Patel, big loss as far as I'm concerned. It does sort of seem, Anuj, to be a shootout for that second fast bowler spot between Arshdeep and Avesh. Because Hardik Pandya, we know his bowling has come along fantastically. Whether he bowls 4 overs remains to be
yeah,
seen. 100% of our viewers are saying
yeah.
Arshdeep. Okay, I get that. Between these two, who would you go for? Let's just talk about the first match against Pakistan. I would go for
Hmm.
Arshdeep because he's a lefty. How do you see this matchup?
even I would go for Arshdeep because I think it's a no-brainer right now, considering his form. Forget about how Avesh has been performing.
Yeah,
Solely if you focus on how Arshdeep has been performing and the kind of work that he's putting into the matches, bowling the difficult overs and still providing wickets, and uh, I think his economy rate is around 6 to 7 in the death overs as well, which is remarkable. That puts him into the category of Bumrah, although he's still quite new to the cricket scene. But to have
yeah,
such a miserly economy rate speaks volumes of his talent. And he's still what, 2021. So he's got a long way ahead. And
correct.
currently, I don't think anyone deserves the chance more than Arshdeep Singh.
Absolutely. And it's, I think what sort of gives him the edge, like you said, is the fact that he's a left armer. But ये बात मैं इतनी बार बोल चुका हूँ, and I'll say it one more time. The viewers are like, ये फिर से उस बात पे आ गया. But we've seen the Indian team come undone against quality left arm pacers in three major events:
Yes.
2017 Champions Trophy final, 2019 ODI World Cup semi-final, and then last year in the T20 World Cup opening match. So when you have a left armer जो एक role निभा रहा है, बहुत अच्छे से कर रहा है, not very quick but very accurate. We saw that, we heard reports also that in the nets अभी 2 दिन पहले he was giving Kohli and Rahul and Rohit a hard time. So when you have that one skill जिसको टीम की कमी है और जिसके टीम के बैट्समैन के अगेंस्ट प्रॉब्लम है, I would just play that guy as many times so that our own batsmen are also getting the chance to face a left armer.
True. And I don't think he's that slow as well because he has the ability to clock upwards of 140 kilometers per hour. We have seen that in the IPL, we've seen it for India as well. So,
Yeah,
pace and his swing could be deadly potent. And again, yeah, so to have that quality in your team provides good exposure to our top order batsmen who have, you rightly said, struggled against top quality left arm bowlers. And considering that, I think we shouldn't be happy about someone's injury. But yeah, Shaheen Shah Zafridi could his injury could be a big blessing for us on Sunday because without him, there is no left arm pace bowler in Pakistan's attack. So that's a huge advantage straight away.
exactly. इसी बात पे I'm just gonna play this little clip which is doing the round. This is Shaheen meeting Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
The audio is not the greatest in this
Yeah.
clip which the PCB put up, but you can see the fact that Afridi is explaining. और फिर हल्का सा depends how you view it. He says कि हम सब दुआ कर रहे हैं कि आप भी फॉर्म
Form.
वापस आए. It's a nice dig, वो ठीक है. But the point of this clip was कि this is the guy, like I mentioned, who effectively set the match up for Pakistan when these two teams met on a Sunday in Dubai last year. अभी वो नहीं है. We also don't have Jasprit Bumrah. But I just think, like you mentioned very briefly, the fact that he's not there, poor teams can say कि यार जो पास में है, it has no bearing. But I fully believe कि इस बंदे का ना होना is a huge plus for India because it's the same top three that's going to be
Yeah.
playing on Sunday.
And it's not like it was a one-off match. There is weakness against quality left-arm pace
Yep, yep.
bowling. We have been seeing that since 2-3 years now. So past does have a bit of hold, I would say. We cannot totally neglect the past because कहीं ना कहीं ये weakness repeat हो रही है.
बिल्कुल.
So yeah, so there's a technical issue there, but I think that's best left to the coaching staff to deal with the technical
Fair
aspects.
enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaching staff, I'm going to bring up a picture of our current coach. फिलहाल तो वो नहीं है because he has COVID. Vivesh Lakshman is there. But obviously a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure because you are Rahul Dravid, a batsman whose success for so many years defined India's success as well. And when he becomes the coach and he's working with a proven leader like Rohit Sharma, you expect a lot. Like you mentioned at the start, Anuj, this approach, for me, this has been the takeaway from an Indian perspective. White ball की अगर हम बात करें, I just go back to that West Indies series. India won the series 4-1 Only three half centuries were scored across those five T20s. But that did not have much of an impact on the overall scores. India got to 180 consistently, and the team won the series 4-1. That means that batsmen are doing the job. This combo, whether or not the credit goes to them, I don't know. But this mantra of scoring quicker, I think, is long overdue when it comes to India's white ball cricket.
It was very much needed because we were playing an outdated style of cricket. We were stuck in a zone when the other teams leapfrogged us. And
Yep.
it was almost 3 years back since we have been just playing along, happy scoring 170, 180 with 2, 3 wickets down. So I think this is the time that they have realized that having resources is not going to add any value. When you have the resources, you would rather utilize them effectively.
Well
And in a
said.
T20 is just 120 balls. So even if eight eight batters play around 15 to 20 balls, that's sufficient. Just utilize those 10, 15 balls to the maximum ability. And we have been seeing that approach. We have lost wickets early as well, but we have found one or the other batters put their hands up, take away that momentum from the opposition. So it it's more of a mindset approach because the players are the same and they
Yep.
always possess that quality. It's just about unlocking that potential that they had and providing them the setup and the surety and the security that no matter what, if you are binding to the team's approach, you're more likely to succeed and we are backing you.
Yep. And that's exactly what we've heard, Anuj, from players like Hardik Pandya, from DK, who've said that we've not been in a more secure, a more
Mm.
supportive environment, you know. And I think that not all, but a lot of it goes back, Anuj, to what happened to the team at the 2021 World Cup when they were jolted, they were shocked, and somehow they would have realized, कि यार हमें कुछ और करना है, because I mean I think you and I would have seen कि वो थोड़े outdated model खेल रहे हैं, but when the team gets jolted like that, you know, you lose first two matches against pace and then left arm spin. I mean, how good was Mitchell Santner in the next match?
Yeah.
We also lost there. So this wake up call, this backing, it's a riskier approach. But I don't think these risks are possible without the support of these two guys saying, "Hey, bhai, jaake khelo." Because we've seen it's very, very easy that somebody fails, you're like, "Yeah, isne fail kiya, isko hatao." But they back the players a lot to go out and score quicker.
Yeah. I think the last World Cup was a blessing in disguise for us. In a way, how the 2007 World Cup was a
Yeah,
blessing because that paved the way and gave us a clarity that you aren't playing the style that's needed right now. So you'd rather experiment a bit of things and then see how it goes.
correct.
This approach could have backfired because the players have been molded into playing a certain style for the past 8 to 10 years. So to instantly change that approach would have been challenging, but the players have been quite open to it, as we can see from the approach from our batters. So that's
Yeah.
good. And yeah, it's in a way blessing in disguise because that made us realize that we cannot be playing this style anymore. If we want to compete with the best teams out there and to get a title, we'll have to outplay the other teams and not be just happy playing in our
Precisely.
style. And with Rahul Dravid, you even saw during his captaincy stint, and with Rohit Sharma, you already seen how Mumbai Indians is a secured environment wherein you don't mess up with a lot of personnel. The core of the team remains the same. It's just that the auction brings new faces, and that too not too many changes. So without a stable and a consistent environment, I don't think it's too easy to succeed and maintain that consistency for a long period of time.
I agree with you. And you raised the right example of how the
Yeah.
2007 World Cup in the West Indies was a wake up call. Now that you brought that up, do you think the fact that Dravid was captain, Dravid was there? I mean, the images of Dravid, you know, holding his cap and his head falling into his lap as the team lost those two matches. Do you think the fact that he took over as coach just after this, it's not a coincidence because you have to have gone through that defeat, that heartbreak to understand कि यार अब कुछ बदलाव
Yes.
लाना है टीम में.
True. Yeah. So even Dhoni said the same thing. He was a player in 2007, so he knew how it felt. And I think Kohli said it after the World Cup that these guys know the heartbreak of not being able to succeed at this level. So that in a way drives you and it makes you realize what's not working for you. And when you are failing, you find ways to improve because the only way is
Yep.
up. You cannot go further down than that. So after the last year's World Cup, I think the only way was up for India, and we're hitting the right notes right now. It's just a matter of time whether we achieve that title or not. That remains to be seen.
Yeah.
The approach is quite good.
Absolutely. This gentleman on our screen, Surya Kumar Yadav, he to me is India's best T20I batsman going around, and he's also like Rishabh Pant. I find him a fascinating player to watch, and at some level, Anuj, he imbibes every single thing that you and I are talking about here. He's got the range. You can argue that he's been doing this even before India bought
Yeah.
into this, this method. I know that people remember him mainly for Mumbai Indians'
Hmm.
success, and rightly so. But I remember even when he was playing for KKR, he had
Yeah.
that 6-7. There were times when he was scoring at a strike rate of 300, but his score would only be, 11, 12, 15.
Yes.
But in those three balls, he was maximizing his opportunity. Was not necessarily, I would say, consistent for KKR, but the making of Surya Kumar Yadav, in my estimation, began at KKR. Then, when he got that environment at Mumbai Indians, he got the chance to bat at 3-4. He grabbed it. He's not necessarily young by sporting years, but he's got several years to go. I think so much of how India perform in the Asia Cup as well as the World Cup are based on him, but also the kind of cricket he plays. Okay, इसको देख के नेट्स में इसके साथ खेल के आईपीएल में
Yeah.
इंडिया में और लॉट ऑफ प्लेयर्स भी मिले यार ये कर रहा है तो हम भी कर सकते हैं.
Absolutely. I think he's probably going to be the most important batter that we'll be having in our 11 for the Asia Cup and for the World Cup. How he turns up, how he performs could decide how the lower order batters also perform and how we perform as a team. As you said, he has got the range. He has batted
Yeah.
at 6, 7. He's batted even at 8 for KKR. Then he's moved to Mumbai and he's batted at 3, 4. He's even opened the innings for India. So he's that player who has adapted to each and every
Yep.
role that has been provided to him, and he has flourished. He hasn't just done good; he has excelled at those spots. So I think he'll provide that impetus into our innings. The top three are there. They are probably the better batters if you are considering them technically. But the way Surya Kumar finds gaps, the way he uh, plays against pace, uses the pace, that's going to be key.
Yep.
He's so risky. You should have seen his game against spinners. The way he cuts the ball, the way he drives off the square, that's remarkable. And to do that against top
Yep.
quality spin speaks volumes of his ability and his confidence of finding gaps at will. And he isn't even susceptible against pace, so I don't think he's going to be troubled in Australia.
Yep. No, he's got the game to succeed, and he's a floater, and he has a
Yeah.
lot of success. One of our viewers here, Saki Kaushik, is saying absolutely she agrees. I'm gonna now get into the another major talking point. You mentioned the return of certain players and where Surya bats. I'm gonna play a video of the two of the three most important players getting a knock in Dubai yesterday. Let's have a look at this clip. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, former captain, current captain. I mean, Anuj, when Virat Kohli bats like that, you wonder what's wrong with the world. But I mean, that's just the nets. बहुत बहुत दबाव होगा because you have Rohit Sharma, not the greatest year in terms of big runs, but yes, in the last few months we've seen Rohit really leading the charge when it comes to the quicker scoring rate. He's not got big runs, but even his 28s and 32s have been scored at a very good strike rate. But यू हैव केएल राहुल जो जैसे कि मैंने कहा था पूरे साल में एक भी T20I नहीं खेले एंड विराट कोहली has played 4 of the 23 or that they've played. India need Rohit firing, India need Virat Kohli firing. But given all this happened with Virat Kohli, tough to expect him to come back and hit the ground running. उनको शायद 2-3 मैचेस लगेंगे ग्रूव में आने के लिए.
I don't think he could have asked for a better opposition and better opportunity to get those runs. Because if you see his record against
Hmm.
Pakistan in multinational T20s, I think he's been only dismissed once under the score of 50, and that was
Yep.
49 in that amazing innings that he played against Pakistan in the Asia Cup in 2016. So he's been phenomenal against Pakistan in T20s, and he couldn't have hoped for a better opposition and a better stage to get back to those run scoring form that he was in. And coming back to Rohit Sharma, I think this is what the team needs. The captain putting his hands
Yeah.
up. If you would see, Rohit Sharma has been kind of a player who takes the initial time, gets himself set, and then tees off. But if he wants the other players to buy a new approach, he has to put his hand up and say that मैं कर सकता हूँ, तुम भी कर सकते हो. And if I'm willing to change the 10 year my approach from the
Correct.
last 10 years, I think you can definitely give it a go. So that speaks of volumes about his leadership abilities as well, because he has a proven record and a technique that has worked very well for him. But to still change that for the team's cause, that's very good for him from him. And I think the team gets motivated if they see that leader changing his own way to contribute to the team's cause. Because if he doesn't buy into that approach, I don't think anyone else would buy. Because
Correct.
at that level, you also got to understand that players are a bit insecure about their positions, so they wouldn't be willing to risk their position
Of
just
course.
to approach something that's not worked for them in the past or something that might go against them. Yeah. So I'm
Absolutely right.
mightily impressed by how Rohit Sharma has completely transformed his batting style in the past 1 year or so.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue this was long, long overdue, and what better person to do it than the captain?
Yeah.
I put a poll up for our viewers here on the lock screen while we were talking. I said, should Rohit, Rahul, and Kohli be India's top three? Anuj, opinions are split down the middle. 50% कह रहे हैं हाँ, 50% कह रहे हैं ना. चलो मैं समझ सकता हूँ कहाँ से, because I think a lot of it is that lingering memory of Shaheen Afridi troubling Rohit and
Yeah.
Rahul. And like I said, the fact is कि KL Rahul ने जो कुछ किया IPL में, he's had injury, he's had surgery, he's had rehab, he's had COVID. He's walking into the team literally in the last weekend of August having not played a T20I. बंदे के ऊपर बहुत बहुत दबाव होगा because he's KL Rahul. ये कोई ऐसा player नहीं है. He's an all format player with success. He's coming off, frankly, personally, a rather poor tour of Zimbabwe. I thought he would go there and smash runs.
Yeah.
Even given that he was not there, I thought he would come back hungry. वो नहीं हुआ. और फिर तीन पे you have Virat Kohli, who is Virat Kohli and will go to the World Cup, but he's only played four matches. Do you think there's a potential, अगर हम पाकिस्तान की view से देखें या any team, do you think they'll be seeing these two players as the wickets to get because they've not played that much?
That could go in favor of these batsmen as well. Now that the world is against them, because the form is not
Correct.
behind them, the game time is not behind them, so they have everything to gain. They don't have anything to lose now. So that could
Right.
free them up mentally. That could unlock the shackles that they might be carrying over the past few months. And again, so, although the same three were a part of the last year's World Cup,
Yep.
lot has changed since then, as we just discussed earlier. So the personal remaining same might not have the same impact because they are playing a different style now. Even against England, if you saw, Kohli was trying to play more attacking brand of cricket. It didn't work. He didn't score a lot of runs. I
Sure.
don't think he even crossed 20. But that intent was there. So I don't think Pakistan would be coming up against the same three batters that they were bowling to last year.
Do you see Rahul? Do you see Rahul's best fit right now as opener? Because the team is open to chopping and changing and experimenting. We've seen Pant open, we've seen Shreyas open, we've seen Surya open. Or do you think they'll say, "यार ये बंदा वापस आ रहा है. We have a very good middle order. Let's open with him." What are your views?
The team might be tempted to continue with Surya Kumar because if he's your batter, you would want him to face as many balls as possible. But then again, to leave out the quality of Rahul purely on the basis of what
Yeah.
he has provided to the team in the past, I don't think team would be very much in favor of dropping him. The views might be divided, but I still feel that
Yeah.
he should be there at the top of the order because if he gets going, I think he can tear apart quicks and spin. So India would start with KL. could be a safe option,
with
but it could be a
KL.
very good option as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it
Yeah,
just seems the most logical option. Yes, he did
yeah,
not play it, but the success as an opener is there. Now we know the top three. Ab kya hai? We've
yeah,
seen Surya Kumar Yadav. We both agree he's the best player. You mentioned he could be the one around everything
yeah.
on which everything hinges. But
Yes.
abhi aate hain middle order pe. We've got Pant. You cannot leave out Pant. You've got Hardik Pandya. You cannot leave Surya Kumar Yadav. Where does that leave then the middle order? Because DK has been brought back for a role,
Yeah,
but I frankly don't see DK and Pant playing in the first match because I'm assuming the team would want Ravindra Jadeja there in the lower order.
yeah.
So one guy's got to go
Both.
out. It most likely
Yeah,
DK.
yeah. Unfortunate hoga, but I don't think there's any
हाँ,
other way because it will be either Pant or Dick. And from what we have seen from the team management in the recent past, I think they'll probably go for Pant. A, because he provides a left-handed option, because the other
correct.
top five batters aren't left-handers. So it could get one-dimensional in one way. So to avoid that, they would be tempted to play him at five or even six. And uh, another thing would be the keeping abilities. We have seen that Karthik hasn't been the safest option behind the stumps, whereas Pant has
Yeah,
improved his keeping a lot in the last 2 3 years. So that could be a huge factor in deciding whether you're going for either Pant or DK. Because although Pant has been very inconsistent in T20 eyes, the fact that there is always a possibility of him turning up and single-handedly winning the match is a huge bonus, and I don't think the team would be able to resist that temptation. It would be really harsh on DK, who I don't think has done much wrong since he's been back. But looking at the team combination, especially with Rahul coming in now, I don't think there's a place for both of them
exactly.
in the same 11. Yeah,
And the results of the
and
poll I put out was Pant or Karthik. 100% viewers keh rahe hain Pant, and I totally get that. And it's you mentioned it's also unfair. It's also slightly bizarre if you look at it because the role that DK was brought back for after a successful IPL campaign for RCB, he might not even have the chance to fulfill that role because hua kya, you've gone back to the senior players who don't even bat in the middle order. It's because of
yeah,
Kohli's back. It's because of Rahul's back. Achanak, the guy who you've taken this punt on, DK, he might not fit in. So, but again, you can call it bench strength, you can call it chopping, changing, but ये fact है कि DK might not play the entire Asia Cup. We're looking at that
true.
scenario.
Yeah, and I think I saw a video yesterday with Pant and DK both trying to practice long hitting shots. So that could be an indication that
Hmm.
Pant might be looked at as a finisher, because you have Hardik Pandya, who's ideally your finisher, but he recently batted at number five and number four. So you want someone else to provide him that cushion that if he gets out, there's someone to do his job. There's
Yep.
Ravindra Jadeja, but I don't think he's that good against spin. So, and you cannot be having two left arm batsmen in the end, because that could be really one dimensional at that point. So to split them, I think Pant has a better chance of playing in the 11 ahead of DK. And yeah, as you rightly
Yeah.
said, DK might be a part of the squad, but he might go without a game. Yeah,
It's not entirely implausible. I think we're looking at a
yeah,
reality. You
yeah,
mentioned Hardik Pandya. I'm just going to put up one more poll for our viewers here. आप लोग अपने वोट डाल सकते हैं. The thing is, where should Hardik Pandya bat? Because so much Anuj of the Hardik Pandya story, Hardik Pandya 2.0 has been his revitalized batting. He was captain of Gujarat Titans. He gave himself the chance to bat at 3-4, and that's where we saw the new Pandya. But अब क्या है? We have Rohit, you have Rahul, you have Kohli, you have Pant who's done pretty well, but number four to me should be Suryakumar Yadav, the best batsman.
yeah.
We're going to be in that situation where Pandya might have to go back to a position he's not batted all year round.
I
Number
yeah,
six, number seven, maybe also.
and I think that's the best position for him if you are considering the team's approach and
Hmm.
team's needs, because we need someone like Hardik Pandya who is a proven hitter of the ball, who can tee off from the
Correct.
first ball, and rarely we have batters uh, who has that quality and the ability to
Yeah.
clear the fences at will. So Pandya ideally should be batting at six or seven, depending on the situation, because he's our finisher. I don't see anyone else as a finisher in our team apart from DK. But if he's sitting out, you can't bet on Pant to
Exactly.
play that role. Pant would then be more suited at number five and just see through the innings along with Hardik Pandya and Surya Kumar ahead of him. So Pandya at 6 or 7 should be the way forward. That's what I feel.
Okay, fair enough. यहाँ पे द लॉक स्क्रीन व्यूअर्स आर इन 67% कह रहे हैं कि पांड्या शुड बैट एट 5 एंड 33 आर सेइंग नंबर 6. बात में दम है, पर अगेन आई जस्ट
Yeah.
सूर्य कुमार यादव इज सो वैल्यूबल. वो कहीं भी
Yeah.
आएंगे, यू नो ही शुड बैट. एंड यस, पंच लेफ्टी, but he still has that massive asterisk next to his name. उनका अप्रोच बहुत ही रिस्की है.
Yeah.
Between the two, I personally would like to see Sky bat at 4 and
Yeah.
then Pandya Pant at 5, and then because Pant वो जब भी आएंगे वो गेंदें वेस्ट नहीं करेंगे. He's going to go hammer
Yes.
and tongs. But him and Pandya at the end, I agree with you. I sort of see that as a very, very solid batting pairing. But
Yeah.
then it comes down to the lower order. There's Bhuvneshwar, he can bat. Harshal Patel nahi hai. There's Ashwin and there's Jadeja. As big as a fan I am of Jadeja, it's not been his best year in
Yeah.
T20s. The batting has sort of faded off. Bowling to bilkul nahi chal raha hai. But I
Nahi.
still think the team would want him in the 11 just because of what he brings. Where
Yeah.
then does that leave to your view the spin? Chahal to khelenge hi khelenge.
Killing.
He was dropped from the World Cup. He's got a huge point to prove. अश्विन शायद सबके फर्स्ट 11 में नहीं है, but given the conditions, do you think they'll play two spin bowling all-rounders in Jadeja, Ashwin as well as Chahal, or is that one spinner too much?
I have a very different opinion about this. It's a very
Okay.
you might call it irrational as well. I would be excited to see Deepak Hooda in place of Ravichandran Ashwin and make Hooda play at number 7.
Okay.
That could bring in Ravindra Jadeja at 8. Then you have Chahal, you have Arshdeep, you have Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. So you have your
Right.
12 overs locked in Bhuvaneshwar, Arshdeep and Chahal. Then you only need 8 overs from Pandya, Hooda and Jadeja. And that
हो
gives
सकता
the
है.
batters even more freedom of uh, playing the full-on attacking mode of cricket. Because if you have a guy like Jadeja at 8, that's a different kind of luxury. And we have seen
Sure.
that Bhuvaneshwar is no mug with the bat. He's a very good number 9 to have in your team. So that gives a lot of cushion to the batters, and they can just carry on playing the way they want to. Hooda could provide and he could chip in with a 2 over spell if needed. And I was
Yeah,
just saying
he
that
can.
Babar Azam since 2021 has his worst record against off spinners, which is surprising for a right arm batsman. But if he's struggling
It
against off
is,
spinners,
yeah.
you would need an off spinner. Ashwin is a quality spinner, we all know that, but he doesn't provide that value in the field and is no hitter. And you can't see India experimenting with him like the way Rajasthan Royals did. You can't have Ashwin
No,
batting in the
no
top order
chance.
for India. So batting at 8 and 9, I don't see him providing the same amount of value. So I would rather Deepak Hooda might be wasted at 7, 8, but it provides a big luxury to the team and a big cushion to the team as well.
That's a
Yeah,
That's that's a good line of thinking. I'll just come to the poll here. The poll was two spin bowling all rounders
mm.
or one. 100% viewers कह रहे हैं दो now, but because of your comment, the nature of those two off spinning or two spin bowling all rounders
Yeah.
could change. I like what you say because agar it might not be that Ashwin even bowls his 4 overs. If you
Yeah.
want 2 to 3, two to Deepak Hooda can do. We've seen him bowl up front also. We've seen him start in the
Yes.
West Indies. Batting के बारे में तो कोई there's no
There's
doubt
no
there, and
doubt.
he's a much
Yeah.
younger, livelier player. And the more I think about it, as I talk myself, Jadeja at number 8 is in fact a luxury because
Yeah.
yes, like we know, it's not been the best of years, but you get 4 or 5 balls at the back end, and he knows कि यार मुझे मारना ही है. Range तो हम सब जानते हैं. It's actually a
Yeah.
very very interesting combination. Interesting. Let's see
Yeah.
if any team does it. It would be this team under Rohit because
Yes.
ये team तो they don't shy away from taking risks. So that means you have two all-rounders, चाहे वो जो भी हो. You have the
Yeah.
specialist leg spinner, and then you have Hardik Pandya who can bowl you 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
and then you have Arshdeep, as we agree, and then you have Bhuvneshwar. This to me looks like a pretty good team, Anuj, to take on
Yeah.
Pakistan on Sunday.
It also provides you a variety of options because you have a left arm quick, you have a right arm swing bowler, you have a leg spinner, you have a left arm spinner. Mix in Hardik Pandya with his pace and back hit the deck kind of
Yep,
bowling, and you have maybe off spin of either Huda or Ashwin. So that covers almost all the different types of bowling attack that you could possibly field. And to have that
correct.
same attack in the 111, that's a good luxury to have. And I think not a lot of teams
Yep,
have that. So it could open up a lot of options for Rohit Sharma. He can then manipulate the overs the way he wants. He can utilize Arshdeep purely for the death overs,
बिल्कुल.
put Bhuvaneshwar straight out for 3 to 4 overs at the front, and he can play along with in the middle overs with his 4 to 5 other options. So, and not to forget the batting depth that this lineup provides. So, considering all of this, even though the nature of the decks might be on the slower side in UAE, if
Yeah.
we end up putting up anything under 180, 190, I think that would be a huge underachievement from our team. So I expect India to
Interesting.
play a more explosive style than we have seen in the recent past, despite the tricky nature of the surface.
This just brings me to my last question. We've seen IPL जो दो हुए हैं UAE में. We've seen even the last 12 months the teams have preferred to chase in places like Dubai, dew factor, all that. But अगर हम इस Indian team के बारे में बात करें, especially since the last World Cup, they have won far more matches. I think it's 12-3 when they bat first. And you've just addressed that same factor. Do you think this is a good chance to sort of buck the trend of chasing in the UAE and say, यार हम पहले batting करेंगे? Because you need something radical. और टीम्स बैटिंग पहले नहीं कर रहे हैं वहां पे.
So we have seen in the past that India are a very good chasing side. So we know we can
Yeah.
chase. The question was whether we can put up a good total or not. And in
Correct,
last
correct.
1 year, we have been doing that, and we have been consistently doing that. So that's a huge plus for us because then you take the toss completely out of the equation. Whether you're batting first or bowling first, you don't really mind because you know you have the team and the right people who are ready to chase or put up a good total. And then you have the bowling to back it up. Even if it's
Yep.
bowling under due, I think we have good quality players who are used to bowling under due. So I don't think that could be a huge challenge for them. So the last year has
Yep.
provided us that option that yes, we are okay to put up runs on the board as well.
No, it's all the things we've discussed have just set the tone for this match. Like I said earlier, जो पास में हुआ वो भूल जाओ. This is a new
Yeah.
slate. There's no Afridi there. There's no Bumrah here. India have played some 23 ODIs. Pakistan have played one. जो भी है, most people are going to stop what they're doing and watch Sunday's match between Pakistan and India in Dubai. Anuj, thank you once again for your time. Lovely to chat with you. I love hearing your insights. Thank you to all the viewers who stuck around and posted comments. Enjoy your weekend, Anuj. Viewers, enjoy your weekend as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Have a good evening, Jamie, and have a good weekend. Cheers. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take
Sure.
care.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.